Hello, my name is Jack, and I thought I'd basically do a video sort of showing people how to get started with ANKI and just some of the basics basically. So in this video we're going to be going over creating a deck and what that means, deck settings that I use and why I use them, what currently I use for add-ons and what they do, and I'll sort of go over what how to use them in separate videos, and we'll go over how to install an add-on here and tips for reviewing cards as well. Creating a deck and what this means. So now that I'm going to assume that you've got ANKI installed, and so if you go to create a deck, you can create a deck. Alright, and that will go here. And this is what you will put cards into, so you can use, this will show you the overview. If you click decks, that will show you that. You go to add, browse, stats and sync. So add will be adding new cards. Browsing will give you a browser of your current cards that you've curated or downloaded. Stats, so it gives you information on how many you've reviewed previously, how many you've got coming up, although that feature is a little bit iffy, but mostly you can use it to see what you've been reviewing, your times, and then use sync to ANKI web so that you can keep your data there. You can switch computers and you can stream it to iOS and I think the Android app as well. So I'm just going to delete this. Now mine will look a little bit different because I have some add-ons which I'll cover, but the point is you'll be putting things into a deck, and you'll be encouraged not to create too many decks. Personally, I do a section of decks, so these will be like conditions, and then I have specific things go into certain decks, and then I usually study it from that. Is sort of how I do it. It will do it in the order of the subdecks. To do a subdeck, you just drag like so. But I do encourage not to have too many decks for example, for specific lessons. That would be probably creating too many decks really. You can split them up by using tags, which if you go add, at the bottom you'll have this tag which you can create a tag. So you might be doing chemistry. You just put that there. Okay. Now I'm going to go on to deck settings, so what I use and why I use those settings. It's important to check your settings out before you start putting in all the hours, just because that will decide how often you review cards, how you answering the card essentially will impact the ease of a card, and I'll talk about ease later. But if you just go to options, you'll see here these are my settings. So I use a 15-minute, then 1440, which is 1 day, as the sort of starting learning steps. I just do cards in a new random order. Now it's important that I advocate that I create my own cards. If you're doing a pre-made deck, then you're going to want to vary your new cards per day depending on your upcoming schedule, how your schedule is that day, because obviously by doing a set of cards today you will be doing them tomorrow as well. If it's a pre-made deck, some cards will be, say if you didn't watch the lecture or something, there will be completely new information to you, and that can be a little bit confusing. So because of that, you may want to do less cards per day. I make all my cards, and because of that, I basically will make the cards that day. I will simply just click spacebar to get them through into the system so that I don't have a delay. Because if I then waited and reviewed them the next day, I would have 2 one-day intervals. So say if I made them today, and then I reviewed them as new tomorrow, then my good interval will be the following day. So today is Wednesday. That means I would see them Thursday and Friday. This is quite excessive and not really necessary. It's quite counterintuitive. It's not really worth it. So I put them into the next day. So if I made them today, I'll click through the reviews. I'll add cards after I've completed reviews. Now, by doing that, I see them Thursday, and then after that I'll see them 3 days later. Okay, and then they will graduate, and then they'll start being impacted by ease. If I fail a card tomorrow that I created today, the ease will still be 250 by the time it graduates. And I'll explain a bit more on that if I go to a card. Or I'd have hoped that you've seen a card, and basically it will have a gain, hard, good, then easy. Okay. And so this refers to easy interval. I just have it on 4, and the starting ease is 250. Reviews, you want to complete all your reviews a day, so this should be the max. And then this is the easy bonus interval modifier and maximum intervals that I use. I recommend just burying related reviews until the next day. In terms of lapses, I do new interval decreased by 10% and a leech threshold of 10. In terms of leeches though, I only want them to tag the card. I don't want it to suspend. For some, this could create problems if you have a significant amount of leeches. Now, by having it tag the card, you can look the cards up. Say if you have a free hour, 2 hours, or however long, obviously, you're able to just look those cards up and say, these are the cards that I've struggled with a lot. Do I know them? Do I need to relearn them? Go over that content. So that's why I tag them. By suspending them, they will go out of the general circulation of cards. I won't see them however often their interval is. So in general, these are just what I use, but this is all. Just usually go to description default. That's no longer going to be correct because I'm stage 4, but that's not important. So just want to go over my current add-ons. These are the ones that I recommend. So I can show you the add-on list here, but I don't use them all. So I use frozen fields regularly. This is good for creating cards and will mean that you don't have to put the information on each time, so you can just put, say, a paragraph at the bottom and then you can generate questions and you can just keep it there. Okay, so if I go to add a card, frozen fields is this. So if I create a card, say if I had this as a paragraph and you have Q1 answer 1, when I keep this will, when I click add, this will add a card and it will keep this information here instead of deleting it. This is very handy for creating cards quickly as well. Image occlusion. This is this button here, which if I had an image pasted, you could essentially put blocks or any shape that you want over text or over whatever you wish to learn. This is good for anatomy in particular. This is called the heat map add-on. It's quite good motivation wise, and it does show you upcoming cards. But that's that. I use a thing called true retention, which gives you these sort of stats. If I go here, this is the true retention information shown there. And this is just nice. Now, how is this useful? Well, basically, if you find that you have too low of a retention or that you're not happy with, then you can rather increase it. You can change your ease, your starting ease, for example. Now, if your true retention is at 100%, for example, you could decide to relieve some of the pressure and change your ease, I guess. But If you're getting 100%, I imagine you wouldn't really want to change things. But if you're obviously getting too many cards, then that's when you'll be willing to change things. I also use a thing called More Stats 2.1. This gives you all this information. I also use hierarchical tags, which I'll do a video on, and this is how I separate the content properly, and it allows you to create filtered decks from that, and that's why I advocate for not having too many decks. I do have a couple decks. I just like it split up like that, but I wouldn't have it, for example, by per week, per lesson, any more specific than that. More deck stats and time left is this. This is quite handy. Shows you your cards per minute, how long you've got left if you continue at that rate. So yeah, I will go over these add-ons in further detail, sort of how to do all that. In terms of installing an add-on, just click get add-on and go there. You will get the code if you go to the add-on page. So if I go to retention, you will just paste this into here, and there you go, it would add it, and you just restart your Anki after that. Alright, so here are the tips for reviewing cards. So if I have a card here, for example, and when you go to show the answer, you have the options of again, hard, good, and easy. Okay, now my first advice is to not click hard. So what I mean by this is primarily you're going to be wanting to use the again button and the good button. Good is mapped to spacebar and enter. This will keep the ease constant at 250%. By clicking hard, it will reduce it. Again, will also reduce it, but if you get something wrong, you simply have to learn it again, or there's no point to using it. Well, there is, because you would see the things more often and you'd still have a better retention rate than if you did not review those things. But the true sort of the best part is that you review things that you get wrong more often than you review things that you get right. That is the whole essence of it. Now, my point is, do not click hard, because say you answered a question, you got it right, and you're like, I'm not really sure why I got that right, or you feel like you may not get it right another time. I would recommend that you either click good and be confident in your answer, or you should bury the card. Burying will mean that you see the card the next day, and it won't really affect your ease. So what I would say on this is that I did this in the past, and I've done this during parts of the year as well. Sort of over the last few months, I've really corrected this. So if I go to stats, I'll sort of show you how I've been using Anki full on for 2 years now, but I've been using it for 3. And so if I go here, I created a new set of cards from starting last year, of which I haven't stopped reviewing. So I'm currently in 4th year. I started this when I started clinical work, and I did use it for the 2nd year of preclinical work, of which I stopped reviewing over summer. So this is all my cards from my 3rd year, and I haven't stopped creating cards during this summer whilst this pandemic was going on. I still added cards. Now, my point is, you can see here, over the last month, I haven't really used hard. I really try not to use it. You can see here, don't really use it. And you can see I use 1 and 3, 1 and 3, which is again and good. This will reduce you going into what is known as ease hell. And you'll find this is when you'll be reviewing cards too often. And basically the point is, just be confident in your answer. That if you got it right, then you click good, or if you got it right and you think, I'm not really sure, then click bury. Now, if you got it wrong, then do click again or bury it. If you think that you'd get it right, usually, that's sort of a thing that's for you to judge. is how confident you want to be in yourself with that. Obviously, by clicking hard, how much you reduce the ease is affected by your settings, which you can change. But the point is, whatever that amount, you're going to clicking hard, you will end up with a bunch of cards on 130% ease. I do have a lot of cards on 130% ease, and what I did is I went through and I've been slowly, basically, I can either click easy on them when I know that I'm more confident on the card, or I can rememorize, which is with an add-on, which I'll go over at some point. But the point is, stick to good and use the gain. I'll do another video covering sort of making what I've learned in terms of how to make good cards. But yeah, so use again, use good, and don't be afraid to bury card to the next day. Alright, well, I think the video is getting a little bit long, so I will stop it there. Hopefully those are just some quick basics, and I'll link to some further videos on add-ons, creating cards, those sort of things in the future.